Everybody in this room, with maybe one exception, the kid, has probably read more books than I have by a multiple of 10. Probably, maybe multiple of 100. And look where you are. How much good has it done you? Fuck all. Because reading books, buying CDs, listening to podfucks is an excuse for not doing anything. What you don't understand and what will become blatantly clear during this week is that pulling the trigger, taking fucking action, is the only motherfucking thing that counts. A German woman and her husband wanted to come with their 10-year-old kid. And I said no. So then they canceled. Then they came back when he was 12, and I said no. Then they came back when he was 13, and I said no. Because that's a little young. And I want to change your brain cells, but I don't want to damage them. And your brain cells are already fucking damaged. Okay, now, this is what I was referred to when I was in the hunt, creating most of my wealth. And it says there, Guthrie Maximus. And they said I was a caveman, I was a Neanderthal, I was an animal. I took no prisoners. I coached and I taught, and I believe you eat what you fucking kill. Most of the people on this wall, the Hall of Influencers, think exactly the same. Behind you is the Hall of Fame, which a lot of guys and gals aspire to be on. Some of the people you'll notice there. Now there's a lot of little mini-me's running around the fucking world trying to be me. Well, that's fine. These are the influencers, and this is the Hall of Shame. And as I said last night, which some of you looked at me strangely, you don't have to be a good guy to be a high-performance person. Hitler, Stalin, and Jesus Christ are on that wall. Because Hitler and Stalin were high performance. And nobody tells you that. This is the Quantum Leap Advantage Seminar for the high performance people. We're making an exception for some of you in this room because you're aspiring to be high performance. But what it's really about is the psychology of being a high performance person. It was a great, still great, seminar given by Dr. Dennis Waitley, Psychology of Winning, 40 years ago. It was the first seminar I ever attended. In fact, it's just about the only seminar I've ever attended. And the difference between being a winner, some of you are winners, have been winners, and the difference between being a high performance person is geometrically the different ends of the continuum. You can win the 100 meters in a race. You can win a lottery. You can do this, you can do that. But being a high performance person, and the psychology behind it, is you're being a high performance person because you are being all that you can fucking be. You live it, you breathe it. It's your life. When I wake up, I go give this seminar. I was up since 5 o'clock, and I saw one of you about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the kitchen. We got a bow tie back there. I'm excited. And what you'll see, the last 5 minutes of this seminar on the 6th day, I'll be just as energized, if not more energized, than I am now. And you'll all be fucking tired. It'll be like they sucked the bone marrow out of you. Because you're cunts. If we were at war, you'd all be dead. I'm going to say it again. If we were at war, you'd be dead. And we had a combat veteran the last time here. Little kid, not that tall. Also a cage fighter. I'm going to get into cage fighting. You know why people do that shit. But anyway, that comes in a few days. And 82nd Airborne. And he said, and I said, am I right about this? And he said, they never got out of base camp. Base camp, you know, where you start before you go out into combat areas and you get deployed. They never made it out of base camp. And one of the things that really pisses me off is when they call these things boot camps. How many have marketing boot camp except you heard about it, right? Those guys wouldn't know a boot camp if I bit them in the dick. This is the closest thing that you're going to come to in a boot camp. And in the 90s, I used to hit you. And of course, most of those guys are from the 90s. So what does that tell you? Ergo, when I hit somebody now, I'd be in lawsuits. I had a guy from the Norwegian guy, ex-Special Forces. He said, Mr. Peña, he said, please hit me. And I said, and everybody laughed, kind of like you're laughing now. I said, no. He said, please, I want to remember this forever. I hit a broken jaw. He remembers having his jaw wired up, and it was sucking through a straw for 15 weeks. Now, I can tell just by looking at somebody I'd like to fucking hit you. I'll be 70 in a few days. Maybe I can only take 3 or 4 of you at a time at 70. And you don't have to be an alpha male. It helps, but you don't have to be an alpha male. So we're going to talk about how to be a high performer and living it, breathing it, eating it. And we have 2 successful people here, alumni. We have Jamie, who's back for the second time, who just closed his first acquisition, June something or other, June 12th. And we'll talk about, he has all the credentials that you would think would be required to be a high-performance runner and gunner, Yale, Columbia, NYU, MBA, etc., and how fucking difficult it was, this program for him. And then we have the rocket scientist here, Robert, which I affectionately call, much to his dismay, Bavarian Bob, who's back for the 12th time. Paid. Not like you see in these other seminars when they come up there and half the room's full of free attendees. If you can't figure out why he's back for the 12th fucking time, I mean, you should go kill yourself today. And we have a 17-year-old. He's a little older than the 15-year-old we had last time. But the 15-year-old was his son, who wanted to come even before that. He just turned 15, a few weeks before. Joe Batten, one of my former partners who was the mentor of Ross Perot, came up with the slogan in America a number of years ago. He's passed on now. Be all you can be for the United States Army. He came up with that slogan. And he was my partner. Because I don't think, and this is about the only religious thing I say in the seminar, I don't think whoever put us here, whether it was serendipity, Big Bang, whatever the fuck, it's because to be less than 100%. We all know we only use 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 8% of our brain. Well, you only use a fraction of 1% of your emotional capabilities because you were born afraid. No, you weren't born afraid. You were raised to be afraid. To quit, to give up, to surrender is to fail. Failure is not an option in this program. I have 100% success rate. 100. And no cocksucker in this room is going to change that. A QLA warrior does not blink till the war is done. And I keep talking about war. You're going to put together a war plan here. Not a fucking action plan like a cunt. And cunt's not bad enough. You don't get insulted, so now I call you vaginas. And what did you say, Jamie, last night the key was?
The key is lazy cunt. That's the...
Yeah, and you are all lazy cunts. I still work 60, 70 hours a week and I'm retired. When I start getting your weekly reports, gee, Dan, in the 3rd week, I've come down, I've got the flu, I can't get up out of bed, I'm depressed. Action triumphs words. Money talks, bullshit walks. And all you guys have done so far, and with the one gal, let's talk about it. Mr. Cuban, who's on Shark Tank, etc., he says it a little nicer than I do. He says, it's called working your ass off. The difference is what you are willing to sacrifice. Some of you sacrificed to be here. Some of you got a few bucks. Some of you got 10, 20 million bucks. You know, a few shekels, as they say in Israel. It's so fucking what? If you were happy with 10, 20 million bucks, you wouldn't fucking be here. Some of you, you know, we've got a fucking surgeon who all of you ostensibly is where a vascular surgeon is where most of you would like to be. But he's here. We make changes for two reasons: inspiration or desperation. We've got 4 or 5 people that are inspired in this group, and the rest of you are fucking desperate. He says it a little more like I do. When you walk up to opportunity's door, don't knock on it. Kick the bitch down and introduce yourself. Mark Cuban's a little more politically correct, owner of the Mavericks. The Rock isn't. And one of the reasons that Donald Trump has resonated so with the American public now, as I said last night, is because he's telling it like it is. There's not much chance that Mr. Trump is going to be president. But the public is so fucking fed up with political correctness. And he says a lot of bad words. So I can't wait for him to say cunt or fuck on one of these things. Everybody will go crazy. Okay, YouTubers, thank you. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. Now, contrary to what you dipshits told me, I'm seeing 3 people today. Do you now know, dipshits, who the 3 I'm seeing? Raise your hands, dipshits. Okay, okay. Good, okay. There's a very good reason why I hammer on this so much. Show me your friends and I show you your future. Even though I went back to look at a couple of your files just to refresh my memory that I'm not losing my mind or getting Alzheimer's. And some of you are in family with your business, your brothers, your wife. And that's all kind of justification how it's okay. Some of you not sure what I can't even say this without sticking in my throat. Is there any difference between having $10 million and $100 million? I mean, I want to cry. I want to fucking cry. You have no fucking idea. You have no conception. And all that tells me is that you don't understand the sacrifices that are required. That's what it says. You don't know if there's any difference between $10 and $100 million. What are you, a fucking idiot? I mean, even the monkeys in this room know that. Well, not all the monkeys, because obviously one of you wrote it. Obviously one of you wrote it. I didn't just make this up. I didn't just pull this shit out of the sky. There's a geometric motherfucking difference between $10 and $100 million. Geometric. And but I hammer this home so much is because it's so critical. And another way of looking at this, when I say that you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with, is that, and those 5 people are your employees, for those of you that have employees. Okay, Machiavelli said what? What did Machiavelli say? He said a lot of things, good things. Exactly. And what if I'm going to judge you by the fucking Nimrods that you got around you? And that's what I don't like about virtual offices, because you don't even know what the Nimrods and whether they're working or not. And haven't had virtual offices for 15 years, I can tell you right now they're not working. And they got at least 3 jobs. You can't build a high-performance organization with 90% of your people in virtual. You just can't do it. You can't do it. Okay. But if we're going to measure you by the people that you have surrounding you, let's give the benefit of the doubt and cut your family out, which are all losers. Let's cut them out, okay? Let's give you the benefit of the doubt. But what about the rest of the people? How would you be? How would you look? How would you stack up? Based on who you're surrounded by. Forget the 5 and forget your family, forget that. But in general, how would you stack up? Now, I'd stack up pretty fucking good. And you know by definition you wouldn't stack up well. And for those of you that are in business with your families, you know, I got 2 brothers. One of which is a very high performance guy, well, I'm not in business with him. So this is crucial. This is critical. Okay, surround yourself with those on the same mission. Is that what your team looks like? Forgetting that the poor lion just got shot by the fucking dentist, the moron from Wisconsin. Okay? Is that what your team looks like? No, we know it doesn't, right? By definition, we know. This is not your team. And especially old Burka over here. I mean, I can just imagine what his team fucking looks like. Because I've gone down the Burka Road. I've seen the lights. I almost said something racist just then. I have Muslim mentees. And the hard motherfucking work. So, now in the prides, the women do all the work, they hunt the thing, and the males just sit around and get fat, okay? But that aside, but I mean, that's a pride. And Sally and I have walked in with the pride just like this. Walk when they're walking around, you know, like this, and they kind of look up at you. You know, and it's fun. It's fun. But that's not your team. That may never be your team. But that's our goal. Because if you don't have everybody on the same, the old cliche used to be, you know, are we all rowing in the same direction? That kind of bullshit. You've heard that before, right? Okay. Are we all going in the same direction? In your particular cases, I'm just praying you're all in the same direction. Forget about rowing together. Now, the QLA machine, this is a simplistic schematic of how it works. But it was that fucking easy, I could just send you out this, you know, and you don't have to come here. You watch, do I have to be an alpha male? It's QLA for me. How to get the fucking money and with this, and that's it. Because that's what we're going to learn, basically. You know, find the product. Now, you know, again, most of you, I reviewed everybody's file again just to make sure that I hadn't forgotten anything. And a lot of you are in businesses that are, shall we say, suspect. I'll put it nice. Suspect. A couple of you want to grow your business, but you don't want to work any harder. Although you're willing to take risks, on the one hand. A couple of you said, and again, I can't say it with a straight face, I realize I have more choices for my family if I have more wealth. But then in the second question, but, and I mean, do you guys actually read? Now, some of you, it's very well written. Some of you can write. But just because you can write, that doesn't mean you can perform. You know. Tony's done a lot of good for a lot of people. But what Tony does and what I do aren't the same thing. You know, and some of you are Tony devotees. That's great. He's super. He's a good guy. He's touched many, many, many more millions than I have. And that's great. But he doesn't do what I do. This is the program. And this is what you came for. I'm not going to ask you how many are in 12-step programs. Okay, I'm not going to ask that. I used to ask that back in the 90s. You know, a third of the class, you know. But 12-step is 12 steps. Mine's only a 7-step program. But unlike the 12-step programs, if you make a mistake and you drink again or you take drugs again, oh, that's all right, Mark. You know, my name's Mark and I'm an alcoholic. Or my name's Mark or my name's Dan and I'm a this, that, or shoplifter, whatever. And then you slip. Oh, that's all right. And everybody goes, eh. Well, it isn't all right in this fucking deal. I don't accept slips. And I passed the slide of the suicidal guy because I wanted to start, which was the next slide after I ended, because I wanted to start this part of the program on an upbeat, not with a guy blowing his brains out. I don't know if we got any. Maybe we do. Attempted suicides here. That's why we locked the tower. The camera crew, the other camera crew that was here, I had to have her go get a key to unlock the tower so we could go up on top. And why do you lock it? Why do you think we lock it? Because we got potential leapers. When I first moved to India, I wanted to know, we go into these big office buildings, we're looking for office space, and they're built around like a park or something, and the offices are around in a circle, and there's nets, these huge nets. You know, and I go, and I asked the person that's showing me the office space, Sally and they says, oh, that's for leapers. I didn't know what she meant at the time, but then, I mean, people, they get bad grades, they leap. Now, if I leaped into those nets, I'd go through the nets like fucking a hot knife through butter, boom. But for a little Indian guy that weighs 100 pounds, I mean, they made me bounce up. But I mean, anybody big guy, you'd be dead. You just go right through. I mean, big guys, those nets are not built. And the thing I couldn't understand is the square in the nets. They weren't tightly woven nets. They were loose nets, you know, with big fucking holes in them. And anyway. No. That's it. That's exactly right. It's not the quantum leap that I envisaged, as they say here, or envisioned. That's for sure. Okay. This is the program. It's a 7-step program. It's got a few other steps in between. But at the end of the day, and a couple of you I reread, and you said, I don't have any exit plan, but I may have an IPO. But that is an exit, dipshit, just so you don't, the person that wrote that knows who I'm talking about. But he's not the only one. A couple other people said too. But I mean, this is, create your own personal foundation, clarify your vision, building perception, creating your dream team, your quantum leap, war action plan, pay yourself, your directors, and exit. Realize the wealth off of your efforts. Strange times are these which we live when old and young are taught falsehoods in school. Does that sound like today? Yes. And the person that dares to tell the truth is called at once a lunatic and a fool. Plato wrote that 400 BC. Nothing's changed. They were doing QLA several thousand years ago. I may be the only one that's ever memorialized it. Again, there's no work-life balance. I get tired of saying it, but again, I ran through all your things, and some of you guys are still looking for work-life balance. I went through, I said, before I start pounding this shit again, there ain't any. Ain't, that's not good English, but for some of you that English is a 4th or 5th language, it's good enough for you.
Dan?
Yes, sir.
There's no work-life balance if you want to be high performer.
Correct. Yes, sir. Absolutely. There is work-life balance if you want to work in a library.
9 to 5 is
Yep, work in a library. Guys, as the English would say, I don't like to tell you, some of you may be better off in a library with a pension. Or you walk out the main gate, which is that gate, and it's a thoroughfare for lorries, trucks. And you just wait, you hide behind the little steel thing there, and you wait, and you leap out in front of them. That'll be as far as your quantum leap is, and you let it hit you. Or you talk one of my staff into giving you the key to the tower, and you be a proper leaper, and you do a swan dive off the 78-foot tower. When I was up there with the camera crew yesterday, the little lady that was the producer, she's not tall enough to the parapet was higher than her. She said, well, I couldn't leap off of this. And so then I grabbed her. I said, well, with a little help you could.
Man, you found your tagline, quantum leaper?
Yeah,
Or proper leaper.
Yeah, exactly. And we're talking about work-life balance. Now look at Napoleon Hill, who interviewed the 500 richest people that Dale Carnegie introduced him to. These 500, of these three, only 3 of the 500 almost had peace of mind. Almost. And I equate that's 100 years ago, not 180 years ago, 90 years. I equate that to balanced life. So of the 500 richest cocksuckers that were on the fucking planet back then, three motherfuckers almost had peace of mind. And the world hasn't changed any. So as a fraction, 3 out of 500 is pretty fucking low. But you guys that aren't anywhere near the 500 richest on the planet, you want work-life balance. And yet have cajoled yourself into thinking you want to be high performance. YouTubers, see you tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
If you look at the satellite pictures, it's a prison in the middle. It's like a prison in like the middle of nowhere, and then out of nowhere, like this group of houses just gets built overnight, and like no one suspects why there are houses in the middle of nowhere.
well, it's like Bin Laden being in that, what do you call it? That's all bullshit too. But this is, and I realize money's not everything, guys. And by the way, I think this is like 10 feet high. It's deceiving, but I mean, that's stacks of money. I mean, you need a truck to come in, a truck.
It must have smelled beautiful in there.
Oh, yeah. I used to be in the diamond business many years ago. Twice I was in the diamond business. And I used to go back in the back room with diamonds, and I used to roll around in the diamonds and spit them out. And I used to put big fucking rubies on my eyes and see if I could see through them. And he, my God rest his soul, he's dead. Casey Stevenson, he's the minnow swallows the whale deal. He did. And he says, Dan, I mean, see, the employees think you're a little goofy, rolling around in the shit down. I don't care. I like it, And the thing about jewels, they're fungible. You can put $3 or $4 million in your pocket, and I like that. Not that I would ever do that, and I would never try to go across customs and shit like this. Like the one guy, we're missing one guy because he's caught in customs. Now we're trying to think positive why he's caught in customs. But I've had a lot of people come to this seminar, and nobody's ever been caught in customs. Now, Robert, in 2010, when they had the volcano from Iceland, and airports are shut down in Europe, we were supposed to have 12 or 14 people at the seminar. I believe only 5 or 6 showed up. All Germans. All Germans. One non-German, I think.
It came later. Jean from San Francisco.
Yeah, okay. Germans, and when you'd come in here during the break, it sounded like Goering and Hitler and Goebbels and the bunker at the end of World War II, and they were all talking back and forth. But the Germans, they were going to be here. They didn't give a shit. And the guy from San Francisco, oh no, I don't want to be stalled at the airport, and maybe Dan will give me my money back. That's close. That ain't gonna happen. But the seminar is not about just this. It's about changing your lifestyle to be a high performance person and being all you can be. When you're all you can be, there's a high probability you're going to create wealth like this, and then you can go do the good things a lot of you guys talk about that you want to do. I personally am not a believer in global warming, and I'm just going to give one short story why. When I was in the South Pole with my wife, being married, renewing our vows down there a few years ago, they have a big scientific center. It costs about $500 million. Americans put up most of the money. And the scientists, we got to talk to the scientists. These are weird fucking guys that live down there it's dark, 350, there's some weird fucks down there. And so they were taking out cores of ice, a meter and a half long. And I mean, you'd think that they were talking, they were touching vaginas or tits or something. They were going, and this is 31,000 years ago, and this is what was on the earth, and the temperature was this, and then and Neanderthals and prehistoric animals and all that shit. But down here, what happened at 55,000 years ago? Oh, it was a lot warmer than it is today. I said, excuse me? Yeah, it's a lot warmer than it is today. It was 2.6 degrees centigrade warmer than it is today on the planet 55,000 years ago. No fucking way! He says, yeah, well, they don't, he said, well, I don't know about the fucking way part, but yeah, you're right. And it's 35 below zero outside. They're wearing hush puppies, Bermuda shorts, and T-shirts. But you live down, you get used to the cold. And I go, and I got taking pictures, and what happened here? 31,000, 31,000 years ago, and they got all this stuff, and they're just getting off on it. It's like a sexual experience explaining this shit, And I said, I always knew it was a fucking fraud. And of course, you can ask Robert tonight over drinks. He can give you more stats about how there's more than enough sun, right, to fuel the heat, the earth, for a long time. Okay. So when I'm down there, though, and I didn't go down there to do a scientific experiment. I went down to get married to Sally again, and we went down on the centennial, the 100th anniversary of Amundsen discovering the South Pole. He was from Norway. And we didn't know that the ambassador from Norway and the U.S. ambassador and all these goddamn scientists and all these guys are going to be down there for that. We didn't know, we just went down. And what most people don't know is the South Pole is on a mountain. It's about 11, 12, 13,000 feet. And it's, you have oxygen deprivation, and a lot of people had oxygen starvation or whatever it's called. And I didn't suffer from that, but the real fit guys, the guys are 6% body fat, 14% body fat, lean and mean fuckers. These 5-hour marathoners were all sick. All fucking sick. And the guys are eating 4, 5, 6 meals a day, and I mean, we're all fucking sick. And at that time, I was only 66. And I'm dancing around, And then Sally, it wasn't enough. Just to walk was an effort because of the oxygen. We got to go out on a run every morning. No fucking way. I'm not going out yes, you are. And we're staying in little pup tents about this big. And the only thing that bothers me are arthritis. And for me to get all these clothes on, 5 layers, and all these big 30-pound boots, and to get up and run, and the sun never goes down. The sun's always up. Okay. Now, 5 kilometers. We're going to go 4.8 kilometers. We're going to go out 4.8 kilometers. Oh, honey, really, we don't need to do this. We're down to this honeymoon. He says, no, we're going. So everybody else is conserving their breath, and I'm out on a fucking forced march with Sally, and you can see for almost, not ever, but you can see 50, 60 kilometers. It's nothing but flat fucking, snow, even though you're on the top of this thing. And but the thing that I enjoyed, not the most, but I mean, was the fact that 55,000 years ago, it was I believe it was 2.8 Celsius warmer. Now, what does that say about global warming? And they said, Dan, anybody that's got a half a brain that's a scientist, which he knows, it's cyclical. It always has been. Sometimes the cycles are 3,000, 4,000 years, but it's cyclical. And they had nobody to sell shit 55,000 years ago. And now we got people. So as my father, God love him, said, if you live long enough, you'll hear it all. Now, did I tell you the tampon story?
Yes.
Okay. He was right. He was right. When they started advertising feminine hygiene products on TV, he knew the world was going to hell, if there is a hell, or he knew that the world was going, at that time, he was a Republican, to the Democrats. He knew the world was over. Questions, you've got homework tonight. Questions about what we covered so far? Any questions? Yes, sir.
Dan, you said when you were 30 and a half,
30 and a half, yep.
that time that you were crying, was it because you didn't achieve your goals, and I'm not sure if they're monetary goals or not, or was it because you realized you weren't being all that you could be?
I had achieved my monetary goals. I had two Mercedes, matching Mercedes, and a fucking Rolls. It's not like I wasn't making any shekels, any coins, It's that I knew, this is how I looked at myself when I see that picture of me up there, the one with the dog and the thingamajig. By the way, that portrait painter, Howard Morgan, that painting made him famous. He's coming. Anyway, I saw myself like that. I was 30. No, I was 41, 42 when I took that. So 10 years before that, I saw myself like that. I saw myself being a regal, bon vivant, raconteur, living on a grand estate. And I wasn't, even though I was making a lot of money, which I thought was a lot of money back in 76. I'm not trying to poke you in the eyes, but it's a lot more money than most of you in this room are making now, 40 fucking years later. And, but that's a whole other subject. And if you adjust it for inflation and all that other shit, I was a rich fucking kid. But I knew that I wasn't being all I could be, but I hadn't formulated in my mind and memorialized in the words in QLA and quantum. But I was living that life. I was trying to be all I can be. My boss at that time, a guy named Bob Donato, he won't be at the party. He's ill. Unfortunately, about 25, 30 people aren't going to be at the party because they're too ill. They can't travel. And but one of the greatest compliments, he made the security guards escort me out of the office and made me go home because I was working 24 hours a day for 5-6 days in a row. He escorted me. And one of you or two of you said that I don't want to have to sleep in my office anymore. Well, you should go home today. Security guards escorted me out of the office because I used to buy shirts, take a sponge bath in the toilet, and just keep working. He escorted me. And he loves to tell that story after he's had a couple of drinks, Bob. And Bob is 76 this year. And he says, in 50 years, I've never seen anybody like that. But my dad got back 700 days, compensatory, whatever it is. He didn't take 700 days off in 28 years as being a cop. So me working 4 or 5 days straight didn't mean, my dad used to work 4, 5, 10, 12 shifts in a row. So, it didn't mean anything to me. I didn't think I was accomplishing anything. Now, I should have thought, but I didn't. Well, nobody else is working here 4 or 5 days. Nobody else is taking a sponge bath in the fucking bathroom. Nobody else, nobody else is buying, having to buy shirts and underwear every fucking day or every 3 days because he's working in the office. But it didn't resonate. It didn't register. It didn't compute with me at the time. I now know, having dealt with fucking thousands of nimrods like you and the fucking idiots on YouTube, that I was special. And I don't like that terminology because your parents all said you were special and you're not. You just happen to be an egg that was penetrated by some sperm. That's that's a special, out of 4 million or 400 million or whatever the fucking thing. You got, so what? Big fucking deal. That's the end of your specialness. And I'm not going to ask you how many of your parents told you were special. Mm-hmm. The only difference is, comes out of your dad, that is not going to impregnate anything. So to that degree, you are special. But I was special. I never looked at it that way until you add up all these things I've done, and I'm not being braggadocious, I'm just telling the fucking facts. And we got special people there, up on the wall. When they're going to land their G4 or G5 or G6, I don't know what the fucking plane he's landing. That is special for a kid that's not 40 yet. And especially since when I met him, he had grease under his fucking fingernails. And if you're watching, we'll see you in a few days. That is special. That is. And you can be special. You're going to find that it is not easy, but much easier than you had ever anticipated doing this. Okay, YouTubers, good night. We'll see you in the morning. Thank you very much.